Okay, we're live, so people can go to kadiri.com/live and watch the live stream if you want on your laptops as well, if you need a second screen, but if not, you can just follow it up there. Right, so let's talk about React. What is React? Any ideas, anyone? What do we use React for? What is it? Shout out. Go on, you've used it before? Making nice front ends, yeah.
So UI framework?
So UI framework, yeah, so both of those are correct, yeah. So essentially well, I don't know when they first made it, but they released it to the world in 2013. Facebook made this JavaScript library called React, mainly for creating nice user interfaces, just streamlining that process, making it nice and easy to use for people to develop good user interfaces and just apps in general. So, yeah, so we're going to be using React today, basically, and yeah, there's some really good points about React. Does anyone know why you would use React? Why is it an advantage over some other things? You don't need HTML? No. So what can you use instead then? Components, yeah. So you use something called JSX, which we're definitely going to talk about. So JSX is essentially a way of using all those HTML tags. It's something that it's an extension to JavaScript, a syntax extension to JavaScript that enables you to write, use those elements, those HTML tags within your code, and then that will compile to JavaScript for you by using tools like Babel and things like this. Hi, yeah, just come in, grab a seat. There's one next to me if you don't mind me talking in your ear, or we'll try and grab you a seat.
Sorry.
That's all right. Just there, yeah, we'll grab you a seat there.
No.
No, have you got one? Yeah. Cheers, Mo. You might use React because it's very popular at the moment. It's a very popular framework, so there's a lot of jobs going in React if you're looking for it for that reason. You might use it because it's reactive for a start, yeah, as well. A lot of people use it for that reason. I mean, in the past, it's not the only thing that does this, but in the past, when we had our websites and you loaded something up, then if you made changes to that page, you'd have to refresh the whole page, or the browser would have to refresh every element on the page, and that could be very slow, very costly and time consuming, and just give a really bad user experience. So things like React, they create what's called a virtual DOM, and they will monitor all the changes within the application, and they will help the DOM update just what needs to be updated. Okay, so that's a really useful thing to have in your arsenal, and just enables you to provide a better experience to your users, because the stats are crazy. I think people are so impatient nowadays. You know, if it takes a couple of seconds to load, that's it, they're off your website. So you've really got to use the latest tools and utilize them to your full advantage to make sure that your app is going to reach the audience you want to reach. So are you all installed, ready to go? Pretty much?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So let's just actually install our dependency now if we need. So we are going to install the Create a React app. So the way we do that, it's an npm module. So we can do npm I, or we could just write install, whatever you prefer. I is just the shortcut. And then we can do Create React app. Now if you hit enter, that might fail, like that. So if that does, you need to grant it special permissions. So Mac users and Linux users, you need to put the sudo command before, so you can run that command as a super user.
Am I in the right place?
So yeah, I'm doing this within Visual Studio Code, and I've just opened a new terminal up there. And then I can type my code directly into the terminal if you want, guys, yeah? So when we hit enter, that will prompt you for your password.
I don't see the new terminal. Is it this one or is it this one? Visual Studio? Or
Yeah, Visual Studio, yeah. So just open it fully. Where's your menu? I think it's hidden on yours. No.
There's another.
Just go new file.
This is right.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yes, so come into your menu and get your terminal open. There you go.
New terminal?
Yep. And then you can type that command in there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So when you run sudo npm install create react app, it should prompt you for your password if needed. So that's your user password for your machine. Yeah, so whatever your login is. If you're on Windows, it might not ask you. It should have just installed. It should give you a message saying certain number of packages installed, something like that. Say again? Any more seats down there, guys? No? So I might have to just drag that table down and make the best of it, and then set up your laptop down the end, guys, as a secondary screen.
What is the code we need to write? Is that on the instructions? Because
It's there.
this one?
Yep.
Oh, my apologies.
So it's up on the main screen as well, yeah?
Okay, sorry.
So for those that have managed to run that command, you need to find where that folder was installed. So by default, it would have installed... Sorry, no, we haven't created the app yet. So we've just installed the node module. So now we need to actually use create React app to create a project, yeah, to create a folder. Has everyone installed the dependency or think they might have installed the dependency? We can check later, obviously, when we run it. So we can just type create React app and then give it a name. So tonight we're just going to be making a Heroes app. You might have seen it before if you've watched any of our YouTube video. So Heroes app would be a good name. Oops, not herpes app. That's what... That's a different app entirely, that one. Are you settled, mate? You're right. Yeah.
We don't hit enter, right?
Yeah, hit enter when you're ready.
But it says command not found.
So you obviously haven't installed it if your command's not found. Yeah. I'll get someone to come over and help you. Yeah? They're all gone. So this should take quite a long time when we actually hit enter and create our app. Just create React app, should be fine. Okay, so we probably need to install yours globally. Mine's probably installed globally and yours isn't. So when this has stopped, I'll open a new terminal for you. So if you do npm install, create React app, and then make sure that's installed globally, so -G, that will make sure you can access that create React app anywhere on your system. So we're using create React app just because it's It's an excellent tool that, again, Facebook has developed and used themselves when they create React apps. It just streamlines the whole process for us. We don't have to worry about configuring Babel files, config files, so that we have to compile, set up how to compile JSX and things like that. So once you've installed it globally, then it should be that command, guys. Yeah, create -react-app heroes app. Then hit enter. Working now? Cool, yeah. So just make sure you install it globally if you're not sure where you're running it. So that would have installed it locally just within a certain folder. So you need to then be within that folder to run that command. We're just going to make sure, obviously, everyone reaches this point because this is the most fundamental point. If they're not here, then we can't really progress from here. So,
what does this mean? Sorry.
Daniel, can you just help this lady get set up, please?
Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm not sure what happened because I've been having these errors and then finally I go like this. But
So a way to check whether that's worked is to actually open that folder,
do it again.
this Heroes app folder. So as I said, by default, that should have been created in your user folder. So mine is grey. So if I go to open folder within Visual Studio, so that's this little folder icon here on the top left. Or if you want, you can just go File, Open Folder, various options. So go to your user folder, and you should see there your Heroes app that's been created for you. So open that up. And you should see some files already created here, some folders and some files already created here for you. Yeah? Heroes app, yeah, that we're doing. Anyone not there? Just stick your hand up if you're not there.
Mine's still loading.
Yeah. Someone will be down to see you in a second, yeah? Just to help you up. So everyone else, just have a look at these files that we've got here. Let's start exploring them a little bit. So within our package.json, we can see that Create React App has done some scripts for us. It's created some scripts for us. So these are just a bit of code that we can run that will perform a function. So the start function is actually going to start as a server, a local server that we can view our app on. So we're going to do that in a second just to test everything's running on our machines correctly. Build, yeah, I mean we can make a build of it, a bundle of it ready to deploy, maybe to a third-party hosting service or something like that we want to display our website on online. So we would build it first and then deploy it. Test, it comes in with a built-in test framework. Yeah, it comes built in with Jest. Jest comes built into the Create React App. So we can use that to test all our code, test our JavaScript code, test our functions. So lots of really useful utilities built into it. Create React App itself is only obviously a skeleton framework, so we can build a hell of a lot with it. There's some really useful tools in there, but at some stage we might want to configure things ourselves. If we do, we can actually take the app as far as we want with Create React App, and then we can eject it and then customize things a lot more. Yeah, but it's a really good way to start if you're new to creating apps, if you're new to React. It's an excellent way to start by using Create React App. So let's actually test one of those commands. So we're going to test the start command now. Mo, are you free or not? Yep. Yeah, there's a guy gentleman down the end who's not quite able to get set up. So you might be there now. Yeah. Give us a shout, Justin, if you need to. can't see from there, but yeah, awesome, thanks. Right, so to test whether things are actually working as expected, make sure you're in that Heroes app folder. So in your terminal, it should say Heroes app there. Everyone in that folder? Not sure? Still loading for some people? That's all right. We'll come back to this for you in a second. So if you just type npm start, and that will actually run that start script that I was just talking about here. Oh, so npm is Node Package Manager. So if you've installed Node, then Node Package Manager comes with it. And yeah, it's just a script that we can run. Yeah. So type that, hit enter. It says starting the development server. Chrome pops up, and we should get a page like that. And that's our demo app, or our very basic skeleton structure that shows that everything's working as expected. So we're running a server locally, and it's displaying our app. I'm just going to go back to the code editor for you. So your screen should say that. We're running on localhost, and it gives us an IP address there that we could actually share with someone anywhere around the world, and they could look at our app as well if we gave them that IP address. So obviously a nice, easy, quick way to share things. It's not the best, but it's just an easy, quick way to share things there. So because my server's running, I'm actually going to open a new terminal window, which I can do just by clicking on the plus sign and leave that server running there. Now what you might want to do for yourselves is maybe sort of split screen it so that you can see both at the same time. It's not that easy to do on mine actually, but for visibility purposes anyway, I'm going to keep it so that I have the full screen so you can see what I'm writing. But if you want to have your code on the left and Chrome displayed on the right, that would be a nice little setup there. So if you didn't catch that command, it was npm start that you need to run.
What do you open from the Heroes app?
Just the main folder itself. Just open the main Heroes app folder. So if you go back one level and just click open. Thinking about it. If you haven't got that spinning React logo, just pop up your hand and someone will come and see you. Yeah, so we've got a couple over there, guys, that might need some help as well. What error messages are you getting, guys? Any error messages in your terminal? Still loading? Okay, no worries. Is it a slightly older computer or just... No? Alright.
Oh no, oh.
Let's do another CD.
Yeah, because he was just like, whatever you're at, just change it so it doesn't fall. It shows up. I mean, you obviously try and get someone to go and you've got 1 minute to change that.
I'll give you my laptop, okay?
Are you sure you can?
Mine's asking me if I want to change to the DOM-based renderer. But if it just my computer's really old crap.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anyone else having trouble?
Mine has to, this little thing, it's so old and crap, it has to use the full renderer. You can't keep up.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on. How can I find out?
By Google.
But I need to create the file.
Sorry?
I need to create the file with the name.
Okay, it's already.
Oh, okay.
Now, put the name for it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, when I did that. Oh, yeah, it's you don't want to do global redo,
And then you should get this page.
Okay, is everyone there now? Park for yourself. Starting again? Almost there though? Yeah? So just while we're waiting for a couple of other people just to finish installing that, let's have a little look at some of the other files as well. So we're going to be editing everything here within our source folder. So these are the only files that we edit here. Our source folder files. So you can do single page applications with React, and a lot of people choose to use it that way. So essentially everything is rendered just in one page, and that page is obviously your index.html. Yeah, that's usually every project needs an index or a home.html page. And if those of you that have done a bit of HTML, this might look quite familiar to you. So just a standard HTML document, head section, title, so you can put your title in there to whatever you want. So if you wanted to call that Heroes app, then you could. What else we got in here? Not really much a note in there. And just notice that there's only one div in there. So one container to keep a bit of code in, and that's been given an ID of root by our create React app skeleton.
Do you need to save as we go along, or is it?
Yeah, so I've got an auto save on, but if you just want to say Control S, or if you want to turn auto save on, I think you can easily do it by under the file. There's an option here just to tick auto save. So that's quite useful. So you can actually see your changes. Right. So what else did we want to have a look at? So all our node modules went in a folder there. So that's all our other dependencies that we need to make our app run. Those dependencies are listed here. So we haven't got many at the moment. We've got React itself, React DOM. So obviously to do with that virtual DOM that I was mentioning earlier, yeah, the thing that helps us update the document object model, which is that bit in the browser that creates all the elements of a page that we view in the browser. Yeah, what else can we have a look at while we're waiting? So we've got our index.js file, and this is essentially rendering our whole application. So there's that root that we saw earlier. So it's inserting all of our app code into that HTML file with the ID of root. Yeah, so everything we write is going to be put in there by the magic of how it's all set up already. Yeah, so you don't really need to worry about any of that, but I'm just showing you because we've got a bit of time to kill. Just notice these import statements as well up here. So standard JavaScript import syntax, ES6 syntax I think for the imports. So this is how we would get external JavaScript files into the current JavaScript file that we're working in, and we'll see that later when we add some pictures to our app as well. We're going to import them using the same sort of structure. This import picture in this case from the picture's location. We've got a CSS file in there as well to add some styling to our app. So, as I said, the main bit we're going to edit today is our app.js. So let's have a quick look at that. So again, we've got a container for our whole app, given it the name of app. What about this? Does this look familiar to anyone? Class name. Do we have an equivalent in HTML? It's just class, isn't it, in HTML? Yeah, so that's a subtle difference with React compared to HTML, because it looks like HTML, but don't forget it isn't. It's JSX, yeah? So everything here compiles to JavaScript, and we can't use the word class in JavaScript because JavaScript already has that. Yeah, we create classes in JavaScript. They were introduced reasonably recently, but yeah, they are in there. So we can't use that word. That's already taken. And the other thing is for. So in HTML, you have for in labels when you do some inputs for labels. So you can't use that as well because that creates a for loop in JavaScript. Yeah, to loop over things. So that is just called HTML4. And notice everything here is camel case. So camel case means the lowercase letter at the start, and then any subsequent word, there's no space, but it's just capitalized, that subsequent word. Yeah, so if we had another word after that, that would have to be written just like that, yeah, with a capital to start with. Are we all there finally? Not quite still, just down at the end? Okay, we just wait a little bit longer. Any questions about what I've said so far, guys, or general comments? Did that seem quite easy to set up?
So that's not like HTML, that looks like HTML.
Yeah, so it looks like HTML, doesn't it? Yeah.
That's exactly the same.
Yeah, it does exactly the same. So, this is JSX. So because of the way we've used Create React App, that has set up being able to use JSX for us. I think with just React standalone, we would have to configure something else, configure something like Babel to actually be able to use.
You write like all your CSS, HTML in that one file.
You can do, yeah, if you wish. Obviously, for big projects, that can get really messy if you have everything in one file. So mainly tonight we will just be editing this one file. We might just create an extra couple of files and folders if we need to, if we feel it's getting a bit complicated and people are losing track. And that's what you would do in a real project, definitely. You know, say we're creating some heroes, some superhero characters, then we'd probably have a characters folder and then stick all those characters in a characters.js file with a characters.css to make them look nice on the page and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point. But
does that change the speed that it runs?
Does that change the speed it runs? I mean, yeah, very, very slightly maybe, but I mean, it's way worth it, isn't it, for all the development time? You think about a big project, you're going to waste so much time like looking for all the bits if you're not properly organizing your files. So, yeah, way worth it for you and for other people you work with to put it all in different folders and keep it neat. Are we done? Give me a shout when you're done. No. Alright, we might have to push on anyway, and then the other person can just catch up as they need. So, looking at this code then, we can see there's an image been inserted here, and they're getting it from a logo, and that logo has been imported from a separate file here. So that logo is actually that thing that's spinning, yeah? So we can use that, the way that it's been demoed to us there, to actually add our own images. So what we did last time, and it was quite easy, quite simple, is we could just get a DC logo, something like that. So we could just grab some images off of Google. Anyone know how to just select the size that we want for our images. So if we want just a specific size, because they could all be random sizes here, we can actually specify a size exactly by clicking on our tools, size, and then specifying. So let's say we have an 800 by an 8, oh, not an 8000, there we go. It doesn't matter, just whatever you choose really, but nothing too big. And we can just save that for use later. So save image as, and let's just make sure we stick it in our Heroes app. And what one out of those folders is the bit that we want to edit? Do we want to edit the node modules, the public, or the source folder? Source, definitely, yep. So in the source, there's no images in there currently, so that's why we can't see anything in there. Call it what you want, but I'm probably just going to call it, I'll stick to camel case and I'll call it DC logo.
Just in source.
Yeah, just in the source for now.
PNG files, alright?
PNG's fine, yep. It will just change what you write when you import it. You'll have to put .png and I'll have to put .jpeg, so. And then do the same for Marvel. Maybe that one will do. Or should we have a black one? Your choice. Use your artistic license. Okay, now if I go back to my Visual Code, I should now see a couple of extra files in there. I've got my DC logo and I've got my Marvel logo. Now, obviously they're not being displayed anywhere in our Heroes app yet because we haven't written any code to say, oh, display these pictures here. Let's go and minimize my terminal a little bit. We don't need that at the moment. So if we go back to our main app.js, so just note here how they have put an image into it. As I say, it looks very, very, very similar to HTML. The subtle difference maybe being these curly braces here. Yeah, you seen them in HTML maybe? No, generally not, yeah? So, as I said, everything compiles to JavaScript. So if we want to tell our file that this is going to be a bit of JavaScript, we have to surround it in curly braces. So this logo is actually a JavaScript variable. Yes, we've imported our logo up here and we've assigned it a name of logo. Yeah, so that's a JavaScript variable. So our source, we're doing it dynamically as a JavaScript variable rather than hard coding it with an actual path in there. So anytime you want to put some plain old JavaScript in your JSX code, make sure you wrap it in curly braces here. So you know you're in a bit of JSX because you'll be within a tag. Yeah, within a tag like that. So this is also JavaScript up here. You don't need to wrap it in a code block because the whole file is an app.js file. Yeah. So you've got a JavaScript file, you've got JSX within that, and then you've got JavaScript within the JSX, and you can keep going down as many times as you need with that and switching between the two. Yeah, but just make sure you know which one you're currently using. Otherwise, you might get a bit confused. Cool. So I actually want you to be brave and delete all of this now, because we're going to make something different. Yeah, where from? Exactly, very good question. So we don't need to worry about a header element really. We're just going to put it all in our main div app. So leave your div with class name equals app there, and make sure you leave that closing div down the bottom as well, because that is closing your main app div there as well. So you can just about see it all on one screen, and then hit that delete button. All right. And if you had your Google Chrome by the side of your code when you did that, you should probably see it now. There's nothing there. I didn't refresh that browser. Yeah, so create React app again, and the whole process, the whole setup that we're using, everything is just refreshed automatically. Yeah, we don't need to hit that refresh button loads of times. So a really useful feature. So you can see your changes live if you like. And if you do something really weird, like get rid of that bracket, you will actually get some problems down here, so that will warn you. So keep a note of your terminal here and your problems when you're coding, and that will tell you what's gone wrong. So we've got JSX element div, has no corresponding closing tag, because I just deleted it. And also that will say in your browser that it failed to compile. So you've got really useful tools nowadays that help you debug, and they give you some intelligent messages back. Before, you know, in the past, you'd just almost get nothing, and you have to work out what have I done wrong, and that can be very hard if you've got thousands of lines of code. So I'll put that back, obviously. And we've got another error down here as well. Logo is defined but never used. Anyone tell me why that is? Yeah, we just deleted the block of code that referenced our logo, and up here we're still importing the logo, so we don't actually need it. So it's still compiling because the code is still legal, so there's no failed to compile here, but we've just got unused things, so it's just throwing us a warning. So I can just delete that import logo as well, and if you really wanted, you could delete the logo SVG as well from there. Not essential, but if you want. Okay. So, now, how are we going to display our two new images on the page? Can anyone tell me? Or help me? Import? Yeah, we definitely need to import them first. So, how would I do that? Import? Okay, so what do I put first? What do I put next? What name do I put? Boris? Import Boris from... Does it matter? Logo, yeah. So DC logo. And where is that? Okay, so make sure it's a string, yep. And then dot slash, so the dot slash tells it it's the current folder, yep. We don't need the source because we're already within the source. So this dot slash is telling us we're in the current folder, yeah. So, and then it's just the name, right? So mine is dclogo.jpg, yeah. So whatever you called yours, something like that. Do you need a semicolon at the end? Probably should, yeah. Which one? Sorry, yeah, so this DC logo bit here, so this is just a reference name. We can call it whatever we want, but you know, I could have called it Boris, and then I could have done an image called Boris, and it would have displayed the DC logo. But obviously, make sure your naming conventions make sense. So if it is the DC logo, call it a DC logo so you know what you're importing. But yeah, good point, well picked up. So I'll do the same again for my Marvel logo. Whoops. And what was mine called? Marvel logo, yeah? Oh, and then we've missed off the from. Yep. Say again. Absolutely. So let me just create a new folder here, and let's call that images. Yeah. You don't have to do this, guys, but I'm just demonstrating a question that we had here about how do we reference a file containing a different folder. So I've now also got a DC logo image within the images folder. So instead, this just says the current folder. So that's where the app.js is. So app.js is within source, okay? So the dot slash means I'm in source currently. So from source, how do I get to images? Well, images is a child folder of source. So I can just actually type images/DC logo. And that would reference images here, and then go within the images to get the DC logo. And if it was the other way around, so for example, if we had our DC logo out here, or even in public, yeah, I could put it in public, and then I'll make sure I delete it. Then the dot said we're in the current folder. Dot dot moves you up one folder. So dot dot slash public slash DC logo would come into this one. Is that right? That makes sense? Yeah? Cool. So I'm just going to delete those again. Don't need them. And the point earlier that that the guy here made about organising our files, then sometimes it would make sense to have like a common folder if your images is used by lots of different files and components. Yeah. But for now, I'm just going to keep everything in the same folder just to keep it simple for now. Not the best practice, but makes it easier for tonight. All right. Cool. So now we actually need to display this image. Hold on, let's look at my warnings. So that's fine, yeah, because it's telling me that I've imported them, but I haven't used them. Okay, so how do I display an image in JSX? This is what you were saying, right? Yeah. Image tag, yeah. Yeah, yeah. What attributes does an image tag need in HTML? Source, yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Yep, so it's not a string, it's a variable, good. And, well, it just doesn't matter which one, does it? But let's do DC logo first. Any other attributes it needs? No? Alt, yeah, why do we use an alt? For screen readers, yeah, for people who are visually impaired and need to be described the components and the elements on the screen. So, I mean, you could just put the same thing, it doesn't really matter. DC logo. And we can just close that, yeah? I hear some yays, so I guess something happened. We've got our first image on the page. We haven't got a blank page anymore. And it's probably massive as well, right, guys? Yeah, because it's whatever size we selected on the Google image search. So maybe now is a good time to start looking at styles. I'm just going to put my second logo in first. So my second logo was my Marvel logo. Oops, Marvel logo. And make sure you change your alt as well. So you've probably now got two images. I better check I've got mine actually. There we go. So I've got two images side by side. Okay, any ideas how we can maybe make them a little bit smaller if we didn't want them quite so big? Yeah, so in app.css we can make a cascading style sheet. We can edit our CSS to change the size or the layout of these images on the page. So at the moment we've just got some default styles. You can go ahead and get rid of those if you want. I mean, app logo doesn't exist anymore, neither does app header, neither does the little animation that we had. So they can all go. I'll keep the center aligned, whatever, so our text stays in the middle. Right, so how do we reference it first? So we've got our class name of app, but maybe we just want to do something to the images. Do we want to give them a class name, or do we want to create another div just for our images? What do you reckon? Class name just directly in the image? Yeah, we can try that. Oops. Make sure it's camel case. So what class name should I give it? Logo, makes sense, awesome. And the same for the second one, right? Okay, so now we've created, if you like, a little reference to our image. that we can write some CSS to refer to that, to just change that particular element. So we called it logo. So it's dot logo because dot is the CSS shorthand for the class. What's the symbol for an ID? Anyone? Hash, yeah. So if we had an ID equals logo instead, it would be hash. Yeah, hash logo.
So in the JS size, if you do ID, the ID name, class.
No, it's not ID name because ID is not reserved in JavaScript, so it's just ID. Good question, though. So what sort of style should we have then? Width, yeah. So what sort of width do you want? Mine didn't look too bad actually, to be honest, but I guess yours looks slightly different for some of you. So maybe you just want a 40% width or something like that. What will that do? Will that change it? Yeah, so it's made mine a little bit smaller, so each element now is just 40% across. Maybe you want a gap between them. How can we put a gap between them? Bit of padding. What sort of padding do we want? Doesn't matter, just make it up and see what it looks like. 5%? See what 5% does, okay. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. Yeah. I think that's good enough for now. Like it's just a rough draft. Yeah, we try and keep things agile in the course that we do here. Just do a rough first draft and then keep making changes to it as we go along, improve it, get feedback, improve it, and just keep going through that cycle. Yeah, keep everything agile. So yeah, I'm going to move on from there. Hopefully people are getting something that looks roughly similar. Anyone stuck? Just raise your hand if you start.
How do you look at the web page?
So yep, you just need to open your browser and make sure your server's running. So remember we did that npm start to run our server. Yep. So we're running it on localhost 3000, so yours should be the same. So type localhost 3000, see if anything's running. For those that are waiting, just play around with your styles a bit more, see if you can make it look more interesting than mine. And then have a think about how maybe we're going to create a link. You know, in web pages, you click on something, it links to another page. So maybe we click on that, it will link to display the characters. Yeah, so have a think about maybe how you could do that, and then I'll ask you in a second. How do we open it up in the browser? So from the terminal. Yeah, so the command is npm start. So make sure you're on terminal. So I can see that mine's currently running, but if it wasn't, for whatever reason, and I go to my local host, I'm going to get that site can't be reached. Yeah, so that might happen to you. The server might stop running. So make sure that you go to your terminal. Make sure you're in your Heroes app folder, because it won't work if you're not in your Heroes app folder. And then just type npm start, hit enter. That runs that React script that was created for us earlier. And that should automatically open up your browser to localhost 3000 and it displays. Working again now? It's loading slowly. Did you catch that as well? Not quite? No? So you're in your correct folder? In your Heroes app folder?
I'm not sure.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah.
Because I can't find the folder, but I put it somewhere.
Alright guys, so I mentioned earlier that a lot of people use React to create single page applications, and some problems typically with that, or if you were just using React on its own, you know, like when you navigate on a normal web page, then the URL at the top will change. You know, maybe that will then say /dc/characters, something like that, yeah? I spelled characters wrong, but it doesn't matter. So that doesn't happen automatically in React. You know, we've got to actually set that up. We've got to set up our routes, and we have to tell it what to load when we type in a certain URL. Anyone have any idea how we might do that? Yeah, there's another little dependency that we need called React Router or React Router, wherever you come from, however you pronounce it. Yeah. So, how did we install a dependency before? So the dependency we had before was create React app. So, can anyone remember the sort of syntax that we used to get that running? Yeah, so it's an npm install, right? So npm I or npm install, and then it's called React Router DOM. Yep, and if you hit enter, I'm not sure if you need special permissions for that or not. Let's see if it works on mine.
Should that be a -G as well for global?
You shouldn't need that one global because the global just applies to things that you're using in the command line to give you that command line interface. We're not going to use React Router DOM from the command line. We're only using it for this project. So we're just going to import it in this project, so we shouldn't need the global. It won't hurt if you put the global, but not needed in this case.
I didn't finish that.
So that should say it's added a certain number of packages, and that will tell you that's been successful. I'll just bring out that command again in case you missed it while I was typing it. So it's on the bottom of my screen there, npm I React Router DOM. So everything's hyphenated. I mentioned camel case earlier. What's the hyphenated case? Anyone know? Or a common name for the... It's not snake, no. Snake would be if they were underscores like that. That's snake case. No, a lot of people call it kebab case. But hyphen case, I think, or hyphenated case is also okay. So you're saying, why did he ask when he just said it, right? Cool. Is that installed for most people? Still thinking about it for some people? Okay, all right. Well, anyway, that's given us a bit more functionality, and that's enabled us to write some routes in our application. So we are going to do that now. So first we need to import its use. It comes with a couple of different routers, but so it comes with browser router and it comes with hash router. You don't really need to know the differences at this stage. Ideally you would use browser router, and most modern browsers do support that. I think it's like one of the old Internet Explorers doesn't, you know, that usual sort of situation that you would need to use hash router, or there are some other instances as well. But we can import, so it's called browser router. And most people don't like typing browser router over and over again. So we can, in our ES6 modules, our import statement, we can use an alias. So we can literally just type the word as, and that will create an alias for us as whatever we then call it. So most people just put router. That's the convention. So we can import browser router as router, and then that's from. So notice how we've imported something up here from React itself. So this time we're importing from React Router DOM. Alright. So it doesn't like it. And I think it's because of that. Yeah. So the curly braces bit is in React Router DOM itself, it will export various things for you to use. So one of the things it exports is browser router, but it also exports other things that we can use that we're going to use in a bit. So if React Router DOM just exported one thing for us to use, then we could have used that syntax without the curly braces. Because there's just one thing to default, so we don't need to, it's a default export, so we don't need to use the curly braces. But if we need, if this file, exports many things, then we will need to use the curly braces. So these are for non-default exports. We need the curly braces. And yours probably won't say this and give you a size and everything, but that's just because I've got another little tool installed in Visual Studio, another extension installed in Visual Studio just to see how big it is. But as you can see, these things are very small, right? 8 kilobytes and 12 kilobytes. That's another advantage of React. It's pretty lightweight compared to most other tools out there. It's not a full-blown framework like Angular. Angular would be a lot bigger. React is a lot smaller and therefore generally quicker for small projects, and it works well. Okay. So what do we do with this browser router, or we've called it router? Well, we actually have to wrap our whole app in it. Oops.
Yes, okay, skipping optional.
So I've got a little red line here. Any idea why? No, shouldn't be a problem with it. Or maybe, but yeah, the error gave me a hint. It's not defined, yeah? So I actually need to import it in here, don't I? Oh, there it is, yeah. I wonder where my code had gone. Okay. What problem have I got over here? Router is defined but never used. Yeah. Say again, sorry? Yep.
Is only around the out tag,
Yes, yeah. So you wrap in your whole app. So this is just our main index.js file. And that's telling React what to render to the DOM. Yeah? So we're rendering our app, but we want to have control over all the different URLs and routes within our app. So we have to wrap the whole app within a router component. Yeah, so this is the syntax in React for a component. It just looks like a tag itself, really, yeah? But with a capital initial letter.
So do all of your components go inside index.js? Is that what you organize with?
No. Only your main app component would go in index.js, but because of the way that router functions, that's why you need to wrap it outside. But nothing else goes in here. Really, you ignore this most of the time. This is just set up for you. If you wanted to create a new component, so for example, you would create that in your source. Yeah, so create everything in your source. So let's say we actually wanted to create some routes, a routes component. Yeah, not router, but some actual routes. Then I could create a new JS file there. Oh no, I've created a folder, excuse me. So if I create a new file there, and then I'd write some code, yeah, and I'd export that. Yeah, I'd export my router. I'm not going to write it all now, but I'd export a router component there, and then I would import that wherever I wanted. So I could import that again at the top of my app, and then if I wanted to actually render that, then I would just, routes there, and that would import my routes component into there. That's generally how we do it. We're not going to go into that really tonight. I quite like it. It's a good pattern, and it helps you just componentize your code and make it very reusable. Yeah. We're looking at setting up routes now. That was just answering his question, really. Yeah. Yeah. So. Our React Router DOM comes with a couple of other really useful things. It comes with something called route, and it comes with something called link. Now, what do we think link might be? So it's very similar to a tag that's currently in HTML. An anchor tag, yeah, exactly. So link is, if you like, the React equivalent of an anchor tag. So in HTML, how would I make the image a link, usually? Wrap it in an anchor tag, so I would do that usually, yeah? And I would stick my image inside, right? And what does my anchor tag need? What attributes? href. So how would I do a relative reference? Dot slash. And then, what should you call it for that? DC logo? Or DC, just DC, yeah? So you do something like that, yeah?
Because I lost it, I don't know.
So if I did do that, does that work in React? Is my server running? Yes, it is. So it worked, right? Like it changed up here, didn't it? It changed my URL. So it still works. But did you notice what happened when I did do it? When I actually clicked on that link? Yeah, nice. So watch quickly, it will flicker, yeah? So the whole page got refreshed. Now that's not too bad for our little 2 pictures, but imagine you had a huge app with so much code going on under the hood. That could take a long time, just one little change or one little click, and everything is refreshing. Maybe you just want part of the page to refresh, rather than not refreshing the whole thing. And because of using the virtual DOM in React, which is really clever, and it can track what parts of the application have changed and just refresh the little bits that are needed. Using an anchor tag is not taking advantage of that at all. It's like going back 10 years. So we don't want to use the anchor tag in our React applications. Instead, we use our link. Yeah. So similar principle. We wrap it in a link. And the attribute for a link, I think, is 2. And it can actually take a component argument as well, which will render a component that we give it. And that component will usually be JavaScript, a JavaScript variable. So how would I reference that component? Not a string, but not an object. Do you remember in JSX we have to use a certain syntax? Curly braces, exactly, yeah. Yeah, and then we'd give it a name there. Now we haven't created this component yet. We will do that in a second. So let's link to, what did we say? DC. And we could say component could be DC characters. Doesn't look like I've closed my link tag here, does it? So all tags must be closed in I've got an A somewhere there. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So we can do the same for our marble. Where's my... Yep. Yep, so it's just highlighted that because they're the same. That's obviously not right. Hmm? This? Yeah, we haven't made it yet, have we? Yeah? So we'll make that in a second. So that's just a replacement for our anchor tag, yeah? When we click on that, it should change the URL. But also, we need to actually set up... sorry, I might have done this the wrong way around. We need to set up our routes. So it's a two-step process, if you like. We create the link to somewhere, and we create the route so that React knows what to do when the link changes to that certain URL address.
Here.
Okay, I was just missing a closing. How are we getting on, guys? You alright? It doesn't do anything at all yet, though, does it? Does it? Or... Yeah, it does. Okay. Say again, sorry? Yeah, so the component bit that I previously typed in, so that bit actually goes in the route. So your link is just telling it where to go to, and now we're going to create the route, which tells React when you go to a certain URL, which you've clicked on by the link, what to actually render. Yeah? So at the moment you click on your link and obviously nothing happens because it just changes the link. That's all the link bit does. But the route itself can define some behavior, what happens when that address bar actually changes. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do now. And that's where the component bit comes in. So I put it in the wrong place. Sorry, I didn't mean to put it in the link. I meant to put it in the route. Right, so... So again, we can create a new route just by doing the tag. And then the attribute for our route is path. Yep. And this must match whatever we want there, really, yeah? So our first path is just our root path, yeah, our home page, if you like.
I was just looking at this, like, why is it changed? So where did import go?
So you could call this rather than app. Oh no, I won't change the name of that actually. I'll have to change it elsewhere. Sorry, I'm putting it back, don't worry. So make sure you... Say again? You could do... Where have you put your routes currently, Daniel? Have you got it in app.js or have you got it in a separate file? Separate file. So you create a new routes component?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But we use this for an example.
Yeah. So yeah, again in practice you would generally create a new routes component, but for now we can right. What am I doing wrong with that? Did I just put it there? Where did I put it?
Sorry?
Where did I put it? I forgot where I put it.
You have to put the link in front to put in the route.
Say again?
All the components after div app and all the links you have to put in the route. You know, yeah.
So I
Encapsulated from that one, from this one link, from the last one, encapsulating the route.
So I put my route here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm close.
I want the path there.
Should be in the route there.
But that's done here. Right? You can do it here.
No. Go in the AppJs.
You can do it here.
No, AppJs. You don't need it.
It's the same there, right?
Yeah, you have to put encapsulated all the links and routes should be inside. No.
I think it's fine that way. Sorry, I'll just check one thing, guys. Yeah, I've got a separate route as well. Yeah, but mine's like that, you see, so that's fine. Yeah, so they've already set it up like that in index.js.
You mean that your app is like a component, you know?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so my routes are... You gotta go, mate? Yeah, alright, cheers. All right, thank you. Yeah, it would help. Yeah, you can go through it online. Yeah, of course. Yeah, go through it on YouTube. All right, so let's get these routes finished. So as I say, it takes a path attribute. It's okay, they'll come back again. Yeah, it'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? So what's my home path? Just slash, exactly. Don't think that will like that. Right, let's see what happens at the moment. Oh, is it not like that at all? Okay, yeah. So let's quickly define those then. So how would I define, well, I haven't really spoken about it much, have we? But how would I define just a function in JavaScript? So our components in React can be either functions or classes. So it doesn't really matter which, unless you, well actually in fact it doesn't matter at all now, but previously you used to only be able to use a thing called state with class components, and functional components wouldn't have a state. So you can think of state as just a store of anything that's dynamic in your application, anything that can dynamically change. Yeah. So React's got some really nice built-in methods for dealing with state. And it obviously uses state to think about what to update in the virtual DOM. Yeah, so I mean, when you get to work with React a lot more, you can take a look at lifecycle methods and working with state. But we haven't really got time for that tonight, unfortunately. So what's the time? Yeah, we've already gone on quite a lot. So and we haven't got much in our app, really, have we? So let's try and just finish off and get a few things in our components, yeah? So in our DC characters and our Marvel characters components. So, how would I write a function in JavaScript? Anyone know? Function? Function? Oh, you start with function? Yeah, awesome. That's why you're saying function at me? I thought you were questioning. Yeah. Name of the function? Say again? yeah, so usually we'd give it a function expression. Yep, so we'd say we're going to give it the name DC characters, yeah? Keep going, anyone know? Yeah, so we typically use arrow functions in React as well, so we'd run it like that. What do we want to display here then, maybe? Maybe something about the character? Say again? Like a bio, yeah, like a bio of the character, yeah? So I'll create a div. Let's give it a class name. Bio's a good name, yeah? What should we have in our bio? Could have a header. Yeah, and that's maybe going to have their name. Then we could have image of them. And then maybe paragraph or something telling you a bit about them. So you could just say powers or something like that. So that could be our general structure, but obviously we need to populate that. So who's everyone's favourite DC hero? Batman? Batman's good. So for example, you could do something like this. What powers has Batman got? Rich, nice. Super rich, super rich, okay. Anything else? Pretty intelligent, right? Gadgets, whatever. So we got a picture of Batman yet? No. Should we go and get one? Let's go and get a picture of Batman. Or you're still copying that, guys, aren't you? Go and get a picture of Batman when you're ready, and then tell me how I'm going to import it into my component. Yeah, no worries, yeah. We'll try and wrap it up soon, yeah, thanks. Yeah, just to get something displayed for now, yeah. Yeah. We might come on to that. I don't think we get time, but yeah. Just do it any way that you want for now. That works. Yeah. So, my server was just being a bit weird then, I don't know why, but let's look at the patterns that we've used. So, we've created our route. So we know that when the URL changes to have that /DC in it, it should render the DC characters component. And that we've defined up here as a JavaScript variable. And it's returning our JSX segment there. Yeah. So when I go to my Heroes app, at the moment it's rendering Batman at the top, and it's rendering my my main app component below it. So it's probably not what we wanted. So in our routes, we can add the exact keyword, so that it matches our correct routes. We may need to stick our home route back in here as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, so that's still doing that. So that's rendering both. Because no. Doesn't like that, does it?
I'm gonna investigate.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Sorry, just for speed, I'll copy over my previous routes component. Guys, I'm aware a few people have got to go. So, how much more time have you guys got? How much more time do you want to spend on this, or do you want to sort of wrap it up now and just? Say again? Just out, yeah. Not necessarily the React every Tuesday, no.
Next time you do it, you continue on and do stuff. You continue from React.
Not really, yeah. We're looking to do something in the future maybe where we can actually make a proper course of it, and yeah. But yeah. I mean, because people leave now, I wanted to sort of talk about that now, really. So yeah, I think we might just sort of wrap it up and and talk about that now. Yeah. No worries, mate. Yeah, cheers. All the best.